Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Growth Launchpad podcast, where we present to you some of the heart to heart conversations with influencers and thought leaders who share their journey with us. This is RK, the founder of Web Namaste, and your host. In today's episode, I have a very special friend of mine who has created a complete transformation in the lives of over 1,000 people through his initiative called Thank God I. You can check out his website on thankgodi.com, and I'm going to interview John Castagnini, the founder, and we're going to talk about how to tap into your genius and build something great with it. Over to you, John.
Okay, we're talking about tapping into your genius. Well, nature really doesn't duplicate itself. So we all have something unique to contribute. And really, it's about tapping into what that unique contribution is that we have, and how do we consistently tap in deeper and deeper and express that into the marketplace. Because what we discover as we tap into our genius is that we experience a state of fulfillment. We experience a state of creativity. We experience a state of presence where we become able to see the different resources that are already present around us that are there to help us manifest that genius. So it's about being able to, and about consistently tapping into one's higher mind, which is where we get the intellectual capital, the intellectual genius. And from there, we get idea after idea after idea. And it's in linking those ideas together that we manifest our genius.
Absolutely. This brings me the memories of the conversation that we had a couple of years ago about, how I can tie in my musical genius with my business, which is digital marketing. And I thought that, it was absurd when you told me about how I can marry music with digital marketing. And the way that you gave me an explanation of how I can tap into that to create an orchestration, because everything, when you look at it, is components, musical instruments, right? So when you want to create a symphony, every musician plays their own role in creating that symphony together. And you told me that I can bring several parts of the digital marketing together to create a symphony for a business. And that was a great insight that you had actually, shared with me, a couple of years ago when we met. So do you want to explain a little bit more about how people can relate their inner genius, to the business, even though they may not be completely related, how we can actually bring a link to it to create a successful venture?
It's about making sure that you consistently tune into your higher self, like on a daily basis, to make sure that, am I on point? Am I functioning from a place of what I love to do? Because in that love to place, you tap into the greatest stuff. You tap into the stuff where you can't be, there's no comparison to you in the marketplace. In marketing, you call it a unique selling proposition, right? Everyone's looking for that unique selling proposition.
Yes.
Well, your individual genius and your individual creativity and the unique reason why you're here and the unique message is, and products and services that you have to share in your own unique way, that is your USP. And if you're tapping into your higher mind continuously, beyond the emotions that we have on a consistent basis, because we all have challenges, right? We all get brought into earthly drama, dealing with challenges, dealing with finances, dealing with a relationship, dealing with whatever you're dealing with, right? Not that it's bad or good, it's there to guide us, but it's up to us to allow it to guide us so that we go back to the place of, who am I? What would I love to create? Why? What is my mission, vision, and purpose? And we gain greater clarity. See, it's in that, it's the more certain you are in your clarity of purpose, the easier it becomes to be able to manifest that genius into what you're doing continuously. And that in and of itself is the music. It is a song. Your business is a song. Your entire organization is a song. Everything you're building is a song. It's a symphony being put together by you. If you're looking for it that way, it becomes play. It becomes people actually care to join you in your song because they hear that you're doing something different. You're doing something special. You're doing something that moves more than just the mind, it moves the heart.
Absolutely. Because it's a unique story and it's a unique thing, like it brings perspective to people that they never thought was possible before.
Right. So if you're tuning into any great achievement is about the person achieving, tuning into a higher self, tuning into their own magnificence, right? It could be in a sport, it could be with an instrument, it could be within a field.
Right.
The great part of doing it within a business is, especially with the internet, is there's so many creative ways to be able to do it uniquely and express yourself through it and your organization and your community and organize the talent that you attract around you into that unique genius, which you in a business would express as the unique vision, mission, and purpose of an organization. Those are the ones that thrive. When you have a thought leader that is manifesting based around an idea to serve a community that aligns with a group of inspired people in order to manifest solving specific problems that exist in the marketplace. And if you're doing it genuinely because you care to and love to, then you'll get results in the marketplace.
Absolutely. Can't agree with you more on that.
You can't even stop it. You can't even stop getting the results then.
You brought up a very interesting point about gaining clarity, right? And clarity is something which all of us struggle with, especially entrepreneurs who are venturing into something new or, let's say expanding into a different vertical. The clarity is something which I always feel is the missing link between what they can accomplish. So how do you think we can accomplish clarity through introspection or through market research?
The first step would be being dedicated to that clarity in the first place, knowing that you're growing and your organization and your business is growing every day. So while it's important to set routine and to create consistency in an organization and a business, realize that it's a continuous road to discovering that clarity. Even an organization like McDonald's is consistently discovering greater clarity. They realized one of the largest corporation on earth realized they made some mistakes and they corrected some of those mistakes. And they were fast food, then the lines were too long and they weren't fast food anymore, which was causing a problem for the organization. So they dropped part of their menu. And then they realized breakfast worked all day. The consumer kept saying, we want your breakfast all day. They eventually offered their breakfast all day. They listened to the consumer. Point being, this is an old corporation that's been around here, I think, since the 50s, even before I was born. And they're still growing and evolving with their community. So while it's important to create routine and know your products and services and be consistent in the market, it's just as important to tune in every day and know that it's okay to evolve greater clarity and to take the time to do it, which involves ultimately getting to your higher mind. So moving past the emotions that are in the way, evolving your mind from a state of fear to a state of love consistently and making sure that you're performing from that place. If you think about the greatest artists or the greatest, like I said, sports players, just sport performers, they'll only do a performance for 3 or 4 hours in a day. And there's breaks even in between those 2-3 hours, mainly 2, but they're in a zone as much as possible when they're at the place of peak performance. We owe that to ourselves and our day and our business every single day. And if we don't demand that of ourselves, no one's going to do it for us.
Absolutely.
So how do you get the clarity? You make sure when you wake up, you demand and bring in your mind to that place, past whatever else is happening in your life, to make sure that that's at least part of the day. Some days will be better than others, right? We all have, quote, good days and bad days. And you'll have more resources attract in differently each day. But it's with the consistency where you begin to attract more and more of what you would love into your life and into your business.
Absolutely. So
that each day becomes a little bit of a building block, even if it's only one thing, one person, one conversation, one resource, because we can't plan out everything. Otherwise, we would know exactly the way things are going to go and how they happen. But, the world and the universe doesn't provide that for us. So we'll have this shot, this change, that change. Right. So dealing with that change and being adaptable. I mean, it's part of growing something on the internet. You hear about agility and adaptability. Well, the CEO and the person in charge of the business being us, it's important for us to make sure that we're adaptable to delving deeper and deeper and deeper into that clarity.
Absolutely. See,
that clarity brings certainty to us. Right. So that we're more clear. We're certain that, yes, this is the way to go. This is the way to make it. And to become comfortable with not being clear also. So it's okay to not be and let it come. And to know when it's right.
Right.
I try to learn patience faster and faster, but sometimes it involves that.
That's profound. That's really profound. So someone once said, in relation to clarity, that in is the only way out. That is, you need to go inside to really understand clarity. Okay, and in that sense, do you think meditation is a very crucial component for every entrepreneur to follow?
Well, I'm fortunate to have learned meditation with an Indian monk in my 20s. Very, very fortunate to have and wrote a book on it over 20 years ago. So I'm a strong proponent for meditation. When you hear the word meditation, it means a lot of different things to a lot of people, right?
Correct.
So learning how to open one's mind and focus one's mind is critical, whether it's through prayer or meditation, whichever way people get there. But ultimately, it's about opening yourself up to align your higher mind and your heart consistently. If you do that through meditation, great. However you get yourself there. But meditation is certainly one of the most amazing ways to get there.
Perfect.
As a yoga practitioner, not an advanced one, but a practitioner, I attempt to have my mind there consistently every day to make sure I'm tapping into that deeper part of the self.
Do you recommend any practices, meditation practices for someone to follow? Probably you can share with me a link. I can add it to the show notes.
I have to be a little biased here because my particular practice is more along the lines of something I call equilibration, which is based upon sorting through one's own emotions so that they can see which emotion they're having that they're elated about or depressed about, and then noticing the patterns around their thoughts and their elations and their thoughts and their depressions, because what that does is it gives greater insight into the patterns one's living and into their own addictions, right? Their own, and they're really their own veils. So the process of equilibration is what I mainly practice, because as one tunes into their own emotions, they get a greater understanding of themselves. They also get a greater understanding of the people around them, because they notice the elations and depressions and the patterns of the people around them, which, if you're building a business, ultimately you're building a good part of what you're building is people. Otherwise, you're not building a business.
Correct.
It could be your customers. It could be your partners. It could be the people that your employees, whatever it is. But ultimately, you're not going to be able to build any people if you become better at building people. The better you become able to communicate with people. Well, you become better able to communicate with people if you understand your own emotional patterns and triggers and their emotional patterns and triggers, and you understand your voids and values and you understand their voids and values. So then you become better able to build together.
Absolutely.
When you say a practice, for me, the practice of tuning in, seeing my own emotions, and then allowing myself to ask questions like, what would I love to do? Why would I love to do this? What's the reason I'm manifesting? And making sure that my actions are staying in tune with that why as consistently as I possibly can is a meditation.
Perfect. So
it's a meditation that I take a break to do, but then when I have the emotions when I'm outside of the meditation, it actually brings it into beyond just the meditation practice into actual living.
Right. That's a manifestation. That's when it happens.
Well, because what I'm trying to relate is this: meditation and removing oneself in order to become clear and focused and in tune is wonderful and important. At the same time, when we enter back into our work, bringing that meditation into the present when we're actually performing is the key, in my opinion, so that we could actually continue to perform in that state of grace, that state of being, that state of focus, so that when we have our own emotional fluctuations or they're happening around us, we could bring the meditation into the present moment during our work. So that's what the process of equilibration does.
Perfect. I can't think of anyone, putting it in a better way. It's great. Thank you for sharing your insights. So let's get on to a heart-to-heart conversation segment. Here is the first question. How do I discover and liberate my genius?
How do you discover it? It comes down to asking the profound questions consistently. Who am I? Why am I here? What would I love to accomplish? Who would I love to serve? Why would I love to serve this? What do other people get out of this, me serving it? What does humanity get out of it? What do I get out of doing it? Physically, mentally, spiritually, financially. How does this help me become who I would love to be? Asking questions like that is critical, but not just asking it over and over until you actually believe what you're putting down there, and making sure that as you become more and more clear, you're in a state of presence, so that it really feels truthful to you that this really is my gift. This is really why I'm here. Because we have, tens of thousands of marketing messages hitting our brain every day, looking for space and time, other people, around us, bombarding our brains. So knowing when the distinction between the things on the outside are pushing you, and you're resonating from a state of I have to, I got to, I need to, I ought to I really would love to, making sure that you're getting clarity to the answers to those questions from the I would love to place, and to follow the love to place beyond the fears that can limit the answers to those questions.
Right.
Making sure you elevated yourself past the fears of, but I really can, and I wonder if I could, and I don't know if I have, and what if this doesn't happen? So you keep asking those questions until you know you're past those illusions. And to keep asking them, and to keep looking and to reevaluating, am I still here? Am I still doing this because here's why I'm doing it and what I truly see and how I'm served and living my legacy?
Very well said. Yes. It's interesting, because you said to a point, you have to ask yourself to a point that you love, you would love doing it, right? It's so interesting sometimes that how much of a shift it can create when you start doing things that you don't like, but you start doing it with love anyway.
Yes. That's another point. When you start loving what you do what you love.
Correct.
So that's the other lesson, is that sometimes there are tasks that we might not be so inspired to do that are on the list. But if we actually take the time to say, well, this is here for a reason, and let me appreciate going through this and see the value in doing it and perform from a love to place, we actually shift it. And then we move further into the love to place. So there is also that dynamic also. I love what you do, you get to do what you love.
Yes, absolutely. Both has to coexist.
Yes.
Great. So this is my second question to you. How do I turn my genius into a successful business?
Well, the reality of dealing with business, which involves dealing with money, organizations, structure, people, challenges, right? There are certain realities to structuring a business, which includes finances. And I'll mention finances more specifically because that's one of the greatest challenges that people often have in building a business, which is valuing finances and linking financial well-being to whatever they're doing, right? Whatever they would love to do. Often you'll see there's a disconnect between business, finances, and a person doing what they would love to do. And that could be, there are many reasons why that could be a challenge. So being willing to get paid for what you do, being willing to manage the money that you get paid to do well so that you appreciate finances in and of themselves for yourself, planning your finances for the business itself, properly allocating expenditures. There's a lot to learn, right, in order to actually build a successful business. I know I've gone through it for a couple of decades, and it's quite a learning curve for me, right? Fortunately, I did spend my life tuning into what I'd love to do, and for me, there was no plan B. For me, it was plan A, and that's it. So what's important to do is to link the value of finances and wealth accumulation and being successful in business to what you love to do. Meaning that if you don't take the time to link wealth building and building a business to what you're doing, it most likely will be a hobby, which means that a person's doing other work that they're not so inspired to do to make money, and the habit that they have consistently is a hobby, which is fine if that's all a person wants. But usually true mastery will happen with something when the resources are attracted so that you're doing it consistently and you're mastering it consistently. And that doesn't mean you need to learn to do everything. It means it's important to lay enough of a structure so that you know enough to attract the right people in order to help you build what you would love to build. For one of my companies now, I have a tech genius, actually, who is a percentage owner of the company who I met through you, right? Tech genius with an amazing marketing company with hundreds of people that I couldn't manifest. And that's not my expertise, but he's a partner in the business. And the other person owns an accounting firm for 40 years. So he's a financial genius. Two areas that I know enough about and manage, but they're not where I'd like to focus. I'm more focused in the area of brand identity, messaging, ideas, overall management, structure, resources, communicating with people, getting clarity on the idea. So I get to focus now where I'm strong, but I know enough so that they filled in pieces to build a company. Mm-hmm. With an inspired idea that I had over a decade ago. I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if my mother could send me a text because she's dead? I would love to get one on my birthday. And now I have the resources to manifest that idea, and it's turning into an app at a company now.
Absolutely.
It was an inspired idea, but you had to learn. It was an inspired idea that came from the heart that could serve a lot of people, right? And I said, well, you really need a marketing team. You really need somebody to build that. You're not going to build anything. You really could use quite a bit of money to make mastery out of this. So fine, right? So I stood in tune with the inspired idea that came from, hey, a lot of people could be helped by communicating with their loved ones forever, continuous conversations that way.
Absolutely.
broadens connection between people generationally.
It's
So
futuristic. It's so futuristic idea, and I think it's the right time because we have the technology that is needed to accomplish this. Interesting. There was also a series about it. It's called Upload.
yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, we are living in a very crazy world where everything is possible.
And only more is going to become possible. And as I pursued this, we've really expanded into what can be accomplished in copying the human mind, and how far we can take this, and all the different problems we can solve in becoming more and more accurate in doing that, which really inspires me because I get to study what I love to study, which is how the mind works continuously. Psychological part, the biological parts. My degree's in biology. I went to school to be a chiropractor, but I'm in tune with now how does that apply to technology, and we're building something around it. So it tunes into my studies that I get to. I'm getting paid to read what I love to read.
Right.
I'm fascinated by learning.
Yes. Great. So, which brings me to the third question and the final one. How do I manifest the resources to build a successful business?
Okay. Well, we know that the first step is tuning into your genius and what you would love to do. See, everything is already present. If everything exists in one big now, and I'm a true believer that everything does continuously exist in one big now, and time is relative. As Einstein would share, time is relative to light, and we're perceiving things through light. You go to a black hole, you'll shrink. If you put a clock in your attic, and you have a clock in your basement. Clock in your basement will lose a fraction of a second every year. Now, what does that mean? It's only 30 feet. See, 30 feet's difference, and you losing time, it's slower if it's close to the center of the earth. So what that shows to me is how relative time is based upon the distortion of, in this case, we call it gravity, which we're still learning what that is. But point being is ultimately time's relative in the mind. So we perceive things through time. What I've discovered is that when you're in an emotional state, you're in a state of disequilibrium, and you're distorting the fabric of space and time. Your experience is distorted. So by practicing equilibration, you balance the emotional elations and depressions, and you enter presence. That's why the process is so valuable. When we hear of a musician, they have such great presence. When we watch a speech and that person has great presence, or a performer, or anything, we're talking about great presence being in the now. The more that we could tune into the now, then we see that the resources we would love to have are already there in some form. So if we ask the questions, where is the finances that I'm looking for this project? Where is the expertise I'm looking for this project? The more we're tuning into presence, the more we see in our field of vision where that person is, where the opportunity for finances are. Whatever it is you think is missing is actually present if you're truly in tune with your genius. Then you just have to ask the questions on looking for where is it, and let it come into your field, as opposed to it's out there and I don't have it. Stay in tune deeper and deeper into your genius, and you'll see how the resources you're looking for arrive. But you do need to become clear in what those resources you're looking for are. I'm looking for legal help. I'm looking for people who understand these things. Part of it's people that understand and know things, right? Expertise in help. You're building a company, it's about people. And part of it's in resources that fiscally can build your business as well. But they're already there.
Right.
Tuning into presence and asking high quality questions is the best way to manifest them. And then one other thing is, even if it's part of the resource, when you appreciate, so let's say I need $1 million for that project, let's just say, and I don't see where that resource is, a tangible example. But all of a sudden you attracted $30. Mm-hmm. It's far cry from $1 million, But out of nowhere, I'm sure that's happened to you. It's happened to everyone. $30 comes from somewhere. Well, if you take that $30 in and you appreciate it and you see, oh, that's part of the resource I'm looking for, and you see that and you nurture it, the next $1,000 comes and the next $10,000 comes.
Perfect.
It's all in the way you treat that partial manifestation.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Great. So it was very insightful, insights that you have shared with us today. How can my audience find you online?
At www.thankgodi.com.
Okay.
My name as well. They could go to johncastagnini.com. I would suggest for your audience to go to the equilibration button in the menu, and there's a free form that they can download. If they put their email address, and they'll get an entire explanation on equilibration. It's definitely worth reading. I truly believe that the process of self-understanding and understanding of other people through emotional patterns is one of the most valuable things a person can learn, because it allows them to tap into their higher self and their genius and manage people around them from a place of inspiration. You know, when I have a conversation with my partners, I work with them to make sure we're tuning into who they truly are and who I truly am, so that we could, manifest the highest results, as opposed to lower frequency conversations. That process, equilibration, helps each person elevate to their higher mind. So on thankgodi.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much, John. Thank you. I'll make sure to include the show notes and the links on this episode. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having you all.